Okay, so it looks like I'm still having issues with Zoom. So yesterday I started having issues with my Zoom meetings, and I've it's hard to diagnose because I can't tell myself if people can get in or not because it lets me into my own Zoom meeting. Um, oops. Oh yeah, that doesn't matter because no one's in that room yet. So I'm gonna have to spend a few minutes here at the beginning of class trying to diagnose this, try to fix this. Um, I changed some settings around. It's weird. It's let's see. Let me try this. If I do this, is anyone able to get in now? So I'm not sure why I have my Zoom. I've tried logging out, logging in, reloading everything. Um, it's not letting people into my Zoom meeting when I do it from the iPad. So what I'm going to have to do is open the Zoom meeting from the computer. But here's the problem with that. So on Windows machines, like Windows machines and Mac machines, they process things differently. On a Mac, you can generally only send your audio on one bus. You can only send it to one program at a time, unless you have some workaround programs that get a little tricky. That create a second bus, but on Macs you can generally only send audio to one program at a time. On Windows you can only send video to one program at a time. It's kind of annoying, which means what I'm gonna have to do is open Zoom on my computer, but my computer is already running the YouTube stream, which means you're like all you're basically going to get, and it's not like it takes away that much of what we're doing, but all you're going to get on the Zoom meeting is the audio. You're not going to get any video, and I'll have to continue to try to figure out what the problem is. But like I say, it's hard to diagnose this problem when you don't have people actually trying to get it. Like, when we're not during class and it's just off hours and I'm trying to diagnose this, it's hard for me to know if I fixed it or not, because then no one's trying to get into the Zoom meeting because it's not class time, right? So it's a little weird. So I'm gonna switch over. Give me a second to do that. I had changed some settings and I had hoped they'd fixed it, but something's just Zoom is a mess. They keep doing these updates, and when they do it, they change a bunch of my settings, but also like stuff doesn't work right anymore. This is the second time this semester that Zoom's had a major update where my meetings don't work afterwards, and it's highly annoying. But let's see if we can get this working. So let me go up here. I'll go to class meetings. I will open the Zoom meeting. Okay, we'll close that. Oh, that's weird. That's even different than it did yesterday. Now it's saying I have to start the meeting. That's weird. Let's try this. That is very strange. Oh, it says I'm logged out in the meantime. Okay, let me log back in. Make sure none of this is showing on the screen. Oh, what is this? Switch. Oh, okay. That's weird. Now it's recognizing that I'm on the iPad, but it's not letting me jump over. Join with computer audio is fine. Weird. It's giving me the option to switch to my iPad, but it won't let me. It's grayed out. It won't let me click the button. That's super weird. Okay. Anyways, we'll just deal with it this way for today. So let's see. Am I muted over here? Probably. Nope, not muted. There's no video. You're not going to get video anyway. Even if I turn on it won't even let me unclick the start video because the video is already being directed to the to OBS, which is the streaming software. So. Okay, so to those of you who are now in the Zoom meeting, I'm not sure if you heard what I was talking about on YouTube. Zoom is doing something weird right now, and it won't let me run meetings from my iPad, which means I have to run it on the computer. But the video is already being routed to YouTube, and Microsoft has a weird thing about the number of things you can direct video to at a time. You're in on Zoom. Okay. So, but this is sort of not ideal. One of the problems with this is because the way I normally have things set up, as you are normally aware, I can see the chat. When people throw something up into chat, I'll be able to see it. I might miss stuff if you say it in chat. I'll try to catch it, but it's not in the usual place that I'm used to looking. So, I'll try to see something if you put something in there, but this is so weird and annoying that I have to sort of figure this out. Don't know why they do these major updates. Okay. Let's move forward with class then. Thanks for your patience trying to figure out how that works. Okay. So here's where we're at. So from last time, there were 2 additions. So we're in the, let's see, we're in the, yep, that's the one I prepared. We're in the 18-week, the full semester statistics class. So we're working through that today. We got two more people to take the survey from last time, which is, better than 0 more people taking the survey. But it's, you're only going to have, I think, 28 people took the survey. So that's a little, it's not terrible, but it's less than we'd like. I mean, getting up in those mid-30s, it might seem like a small difference, but it really does start to make a difference when we're low on sample size. Every additional person you can throw in there helps. Makes a bit of a difference. So unfortunately, we didn't get there. So to those of you, those 28 people who went in and took the survey, even though you were not getting points or something like that, good on you. Congratulate yourself. You sort of did what everyone else in the class needed you to do. The people who didn't get it done, just sort of sit with that a little bit and maybe think about it a bit. And maybe you can do better in the future. Okay, so let's see. So what we have here, so if we're looking at the canvas, go down, get to so if you go to remember the link you used to take the survey. So at the end of chapter 2, if you go to the end and you click take the survey, the link for the survey is now closed because it wouldn't make sense to have, let people keep taking the survey if we're now releasing the results. That just leads to confusion and errors. So you now have the survey results. Now, if I click that, it brings up a StatCrunch window, which hopefully you're familiar with this. If you've been clicking those little blue rectangles in your homework, it should be opening it in something similar to this, just not so much information, right? So let me know if that link works. Sometimes the link goes weird on StatCrunch. When I've posted these in the past, sometimes they'll work for a few days and then all of a sudden stop working, right? Which is weird. I haven't found any settings like on Discord. If you've ever shared a link for Discord, you'll know that sometimes those links are good for a period of time. Sometimes those links are good for a number of uses. There's no reason for that to be taking place in StatCrunch, and I can't find any settings that do that, so it should just be a normal link. But I've had in the past, sometimes the link will work for like a week, and then all of a sudden the link stops working. So if at any point you come in here and this link to get to the survey results doesn't work, just let me know. One thing you do want to check first, I think you might have to be logged into, oh great, it's already not working. I think you have to be logged in to StatCrunch in order to make it work. So if you've tried to log in, so if you like go in the homework and then you get into StatCrunch, it'll sort of log you back into StatCrunch and then see if you can pull it up. But if anyone else can't get the results, let me know and I'll try to fix it. It's weird because it lets me do it. It is another one of those things where it's kind of hard to troubleshoot, because when I try it, as you can see, it just opens it for me. So double check that you're logged into StatCrunch by going into StatCrunch through like the homework or something. And if it still doesn't let you in, let me know, and then I'll take a look at it after class. But we'll or at some time during class. But I want to kind of show you how these work here. Right. Okay, so let's see. I'm gonna have to keep moving this as we go back and forth. So hopefully you're familiar enough with StatCrunch that you go, okay, I see the columns. There's the response ID. Those response IDs I don't believe even track back to you. Okay, nothing. All right, I'll keep working on. I'll take a look at that link and double check that I can get it working. Thanks for the feedback on that. Okay, so you've got your response IDs. You can just ignore those. Right, the people in the class cannot track you and figure out what your stuff is, so you don't have to worry about your privacy or anything like that. People aren't going to look this up and go, oh, I know who that is. Plus, most of you are so separate in the class, like you don't know who each other is, anyways, right? Okay, so here's one thing that I think there's always a percentage of students that never quite get this thing I'm about to explain, and then it throws a lot of their work off. And it's weird. It's kind of unfortunate that they did it this way, but. Oh, wait a minute. Yeah, right. So, where was I? So notice that the first question of the survey is question number 1, right? There's a 1 in front of it. Does entertainment affect your GPA, yes or no? Right, so y'all hopefully took this. That's question number 1. So there's a bunch of yes nos. Notice when we go over to the results, the yes nos are under Q0. Right, this is a thing. If you've ever taken a programming course, you realize that a lot of databases, when you store information, an array or something like that, it starts at a 0 position. They start counting at 0 sometimes in computer science. So it's kind of unfortunate. It seems like they could have just fixed this so that it would go with Q1 would be question 1, because it definitely confuses students. So notice that there's a counting off by 1. So if you want to see the results for question 1, you're actually going to look under Q0 for those yeses and nos. And sometimes you wouldn't know it, right? Because if you look here under, say you look under question 2, does playing video games affect your GPA? And you go in and you look under, oh, that would be under Q2, right? But like, notice this is the wrong question. You're now looking at the wrong one, but you wouldn't know it because all 3 of these questions are yes/no questions. So you want to make sure, let's see, let me end this meeting since no one's in that one and I can get this out of my way. And there's no one in there in that one anymore. Okay. So don't just look and go, oh yeah, it's yes, no answers. Double check. Does this make sure, like do a little poking around and make sure. That's a good question. Actually, okay, that's a good question. I think I can post let's see. I can post the survey again. So I'll repost the survey, but I'll do it where it's closed so people can't be changing stuff. If people didn't take it before, they can't do it now because that's going to change the results. So I'll post, that's a good idea. I'll post the survey. I forgot about that piece. Post the survey with results closed. Yeah, I can do that. Okay, so good question, Joe. We'll take care of that. I'll put the link in that same spot. Okay, so you can't just look and go, yep, it looks like it's yes, no answers. You have to make sure it's actually the right one. So take a couple extra, maybe an extra minute or something just to make sure that you're looking at the right data for the question that you think you're analyzing. Because obviously, if you use the wrong data, you're going to get very weird results. And probably it's going to make it more complicated from you. And sometimes it's obvious, right? Like I mentioned, Sometimes I'm watching videos at the end of the semester and I go, oh, this person doesn't even realize that they're using the wrong type of data because they probably are looking one column over and they weren't tuned into their stuff enough to realize they were using a completely wrong type of data there. Okay. So just be careful. Take remember the off by one counting, and then just look at it and make sure that that it's really the one you think it is. Okay. Next thing we want to look at, this is what I was talking about here, where notice we wanted to be you want to include units in your questions, and some of you may have, and then people still kind of weren't paying attention or whatever. That's just part of taking a survey. People aren't going to be super careful. People try to, they kind of go, and I mean, not just this class, in real life. You give someone a survey, they're like, okay, I got somewhere to be. I have other things to do. They generally try to move through the survey pretty quickly unless they're invested in that survey in some way. So let's look at questions. This would be what? Questions 4 and 5, questions 4, 5, and 6. So if we take a look here, questions 4, how much time in hours do you spend doing schoolwork, homework, studying a day? So putting your schoolwork, your homework, and your studying a day, how many hours? So that should be what question, let's see if it's off by 1, that should actually be over here, question 3. So that should be this one, right? Because you're basically subtracting 1 from the question number to get the column number for the results. So if we go here to question 3, notice some people are doing that, and then some people put hours in there. But that kind of makes sense. They still were paying attention. It's just some people were, in math class and science class, we're always telling you include your units and stuff. Some people did. What you're going to have to do then, as the person who's analyzing this question, because if you say, okay, do summary stats on here, it's going to get confused and say, there's a word in here, and I don't know what to do with that. Okay, and or it might just skip it, and you don't know that it's going to skip it. So what you should do when you pull this up is you can copy this into. Some people want to do this. You can copy the columns that you care about into your own version of StatCrunch and save it, or you can keep coming back to this. But you're going to have to change this so instead of saying 1 hour, it says 1, and instead of 4 hours a day, you put 4. Right, 1 to 2 hours a day. That's kind of. I don't know what you're going to do with that. Maybe just put 1.5 for that one, right? But you're going to have to change that data so that the data is all the right way. This is a normal thing you have to do in statistics, is you have to go back, and in this way, we're not changing anything meaningful. We're not changing the mathematics of it. We're not trying to be unethical. So there's a difference between going back and changing your data to get the results that you want. That is generally considered unethical and will get you, it could get you in trouble in certain circumstances. It could get you discredited. Lots of different stuff going on. We're not doing that right here. We're changing the data in an honest, ethical way so that we can crunch the numbers, right? If I go here and I change this 1 hour to 1, I haven't changed the meaning of the mathematics. I've just made it so that we can approach the data. So you want to think about that, because people do both in the real world. People go in and say, there's a lot riding on this work that I'm doing, and I'm not going to get funding if my stuff doesn't come out right. So I better go in and make sure that the data comes out the way I want. And they change numbers to different numbers. That would generally be considered unethical. But here, we're just trying to make it that we can actually do the analysis here. So you'd go through and change these numbers. 1 to 6, I'm not sure what to do there. Maybe, again, take the average. Maybe make it 3.5, something like that. But then you'll have a whole column of numbers, and then you can do things like where you go in, like this is what you'll be doing. Oh, and to show you, you now have the new due dates, and they are published the next steps for your project. So survey question summary, and then your project visuals. And you have you have some time to work on these, so they're not right around the corner, but you can start submitting and working on those. Again, I know it sounds like I'm saying this every time, but and you go, wow, why does he keep saying this? He doesn't need to keep saying it. Unfortunately, I do. Each group member needs to post to receive credit. Okay, so there has to be a posting by you. If you want to split it up so each member in your group is only posted, actually, you should all post all of your stuff. because you're all doing your own projects, so it'll just be easier when you go back later and you go, oh yeah, here's all my stuff, right? So, but if you do not make a meaningful posting, you don't get credit, okay? Each member of the group needs to post to receive credit. And then you can read the details in here, and then your project visuals. So this is where you're going to go through and you're going to decide, what are you making? Are you making a bunch of histograms? Probably. Are you also going to include dot plots? Maybe. Are you going to include box plots? Possibly. Are you going to include scatter plot stuff will generally come later when we talk about correlation in the chapter we're currently doing. Do you want to put a pie chart in there? Pie charts are generally considered not the greatest for a number of reasons, but people like to put them in stuff. They're not necessarily wrong, right? Some books, like the most popular stats book used in the country, Triola, basically says almost never use them. But other times they're considered okay. They're not a great tool because you can't compare. When you have two big pie slices in your pie chart, if you look closely, it's a nice, satisfying thing, a pie chart. But when you look closely, it's actually kind of hard to compare. Is this slice a little bit bigger than this one? And if so, how much bigger? It's actually hard to do good analysis. Whereas if you have a histogram, it's real easy to tell which one's taller, which bar is tallest, and how much taller is it. It's a much easier diagram to break down than, say, a pie chart or something like that. So, but don't be afraid to use pie charts. It's not like if you have a pie chart in here, I'm gonna mark you down, even though I sound like I'm kind of down on pie charts. They're not a great tool. But if you put a pie chart in your project, I'm not gonna go, ooh, -1 for a pie chart. Like that, that's fine. You're welcome to, try to make good decisions about what you want to include in there, and maybe that's a pie chart. Maybe there's a good reason to put that in there, and you'll put the stuff in here. So you can just post a picture of it, or, however you want to do it. But like I recommended, we're now to the point, just open a file on your computer somewhere, and every time you do one of these discussions, and after you've gotten together with your group and figured out what are the best way to make the visuals and your statistics summaries, all that, just save a copy of that information in this folder. And then in week 16, when you start thinking about, okay, I better start making my video now, all that information is there for you and ready to go. You just pull it up and go, oh, that's right. I did this 2 months ago, but I remember doing these visuals now. Great. I'll plug them right into my video and use them that way. Okay? So those are up. Make sure you watch those due dates. Make sure you remember that you need to make a posting yourself in order to make credit, or to get credit. Where was I? I kind of sidetracked, but I didn't want to forget to mention those. So, and like I say, you've got some time to work on those. That way you can do the quality work. Remember, my recommendation, work on these a little bit now by yourself. Meet with your group, have a discussion, see if everyone more or less did the same thing, and then you can go back and improve your work if you want, and then post it on here, save everything in a file on your computer, you're good to go. Okay, where was I? I was talking about stuff here. Right, so you go through kind of a, I was going to show you how to do this. So you go into stat. See how it says summary stats? Hopefully you've been kind of doing some of this along the way. Columns. And let's say we want to do Q3. And you can pick the different information that you want. Like it kind of goes to this. It automatically picks, these are kind of the standard ones that people want to see. If you also want to see, say, the unadjusted standard deviation or something like that, or the mode. Most of the time, we're probably just gonna go with the ones that are already highlighted. Although you could include some. I'm not really sure why you would want to do that, but probably just go with these. Play around with it, see what makes sense. Compute, and now for that data. That Q3 data right here, we've got our N, so 22. Oh, see how your N is 22? Because 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 data values are getting kicked out. 6 values are being ignored because they're in the wrong format. When it went through to calculate these formulas, it doesn't know what to do with something that says 1 hour. It doesn't know what to do with a word. So that's why you want to create a new column for yourself and fix this data up, and then you'll have all 28 data points taken care of. Okay, it's going to look better. You're going to get better results. It's just better overall. So take that step to massage your data into a usable form. You'll have an N of 28 at that point. And then look, you've got your mean. So you go, oh, okay, the mean is 3.3. That's how many, what was it, hours per day students spend on school. The median is 3. We've got a standard deviation of 1.4, min, max, quartiles, all sorts of stuff that you can now start using to try to understand this data and doing analysis on it. But does that make sense how the N of 22 is because of these parts in here that need to be adjusted? Even here, there's no word, but 1 through 6, it goes, that's not a number. I don't know how to calculate a mean based on that. So it doesn't know what to do. So that's why you need to fix that data a little bit. Okay, and then you can go in and do your other stuff that you want to do. We can make a histogram based on Q3, and you'd spend a little bit more time with this, playing around with these options to see what you want to do, right? You can change your bins here, start at and width and stuff like that if you don't like the width that it chooses, but you hit compute, and here we've got our, here you've got your histogram. Right, you've got so 10 people spend 2 hours a day, 5 people 3, 2 people 4, 6 people spend 5 hours a day, and a couple people spend, or one person spends 6, right? So you can see, oh, also, if you hover over it, notice that it gives you the details for that. It says the frequency is 10. I mean, we can see the frequency is 10, but if you hover over it, sometimes it gives you some additional information that you can use, right? And so here you go with your histogram. Now, this is not a histogram that I would submit for my project because it's missing stuff. Q3 doesn't tell me what it is, right? You should go in and fix your labels and stuff. So x-axis, you can change around that x-axis. You can change the label. So what was this? This was something like hours per day on school work. And you could change if you wanted the values to not be 2 and 6.5 here, you could change them to something else. So you can go around and change those, or you could restore the defaults if you mess stuff up completely and go, man, I went down a rabbit hole and totally made this thing terrible. Just either start a new histogram, or you can restore the defaults right in here. You hit OK. Now look, I've got my label there. Hours per day on schoolwork. Oh, there we go. That's much better than, say, Q3, because remember, the whole goal when you hand someone a statistical graphic, they shouldn't have to ask you anything about that graphic. They might, if you did a good job, they might ask you about the deeper underlying statistics, but they shouldn't have to ask you what your graph means. They shouldn't have to say, what is Q3? What are we measuring here? What are we taking care of? It's right here, hours per day on schoolwork. Okay, right? So, spend a little bit of time making a better histogram. Get together with your groups, and what'll probably happen is that a few of you have done something to your histogram that's an improvement that the other people didn't do, and then you can bring all those good ideas together and go, oh, right, you're the only one who labeled it. Good idea. Let's all go back and label our histograms. Oh, you changed the x-axis a little bit. That looks really good. I'm going to try that too, right? And you can sort of share your good ideas around and help each other out a little bit with that. Okay? Now, a couple questions. So notice here, there's this Q6. What's that about? Q6, football, soccer, baseball, volleyball. Remember, there was a question in here. Question 6, which would actually be, 7 on here. So it's Q6 and the column, but then the corresponding question is 7. What sport do or did you play? Select all options. So this was that in that form because some people may have played 2 sports, right? This isn't one of those ones where you select one and that, like up here, what was your GPA last year? Well, if you select one of them, you can't select the other ones because your GPA was only one thing last year. But you can have played more than one sport in the past, so people would check these. That's why there's the different columns here, right? So they all say Q6 and the different values. Like, so here we have someone that played soccer, baseball, and volleyball. Okay, so see how we need different columns for each of those. So it's going to take you a little longer to sort of analyze that, but you have the data in its most usable form to get at. Okay. Oh, one thing I want to mention about these questions is there is no ownership of the questions. Okay. You are welcome to use any questions that are in the survey. So sometimes what I've seen is two groups will do a similar topic, and they'll, like, one group will ask a question, the other one didn't, and then the other group's like, ooh, that's a good question, I wish we could use that. You can. There's no ownership of this, right? You all went through the exercise of creating the questions and crafting the questions as well as you can, but you can use stuff from here, right? So sometimes what happens is people realize their questions are so bad, they're like, man, I don't even want to use these questions anymore. Well, just come in the survey and pick another 5 or 6 questions and do it on that. You're welcome to do that, right? Because it's pretty important that you all finish the survey. So if you've decided that your questions are unusable, like, you can use any of these questions. There might be a question in here that is totally unrelated to your topic, but you go, ooh, I wonder if we could take that other group's question and connect it to this one of our questions and see if there's any correlation. Right? See if there's any connection between these things. Go ahead and try it. Go ahead and see. There is no ownership of the question. No one's going to get mad. In fact, no one's going to see your final videos anyways, except me. I'm the only one that's going to watch all of them. So, feel free to use whatever questions in the survey that you want to use. Okay? Let's see. Let's look at what would be number 11. Let's see how that came out. So which sport do you consider the hardest to play? Let's see how that came out. Okay, not bad. So people are going to have to go through. You're going to kind of have to count these up. Let's see, what would we want to do here if we wanted to count that? Question is that 11? So here you can make yourself a frequency table. That's a little easier to read, right, than it is to, like, look at this column. So we had, a lot of football players, few wrestlers, and a few of the other sports along the way. Kind of surprised to see wrestling be number 2 here. I wrestled in high school. I'm surprised that it's the number 2 one here. But you've got your frequency, you've got your relative frequency, all that kind of stuff. So that one actually turned out pretty good. I thought the data might be a little bit messy there, but it actually looks pretty good. And I think that's probably because we had a previous question where the options were listed specifically, so people knew what they were supposed to do. Then you've got this question 12 about, yoga and Pilates, strength training, HIIT and CrossFit, that kind of stuff. Looks like some of these columns need a little bit of work along the way, so just pay attention to that. Yeah, so most of this looks pretty good. I'm not seeing too many issues, just the small issues that I mentioned so far. Let's see, so when you get to one of these, like, let's see, what does question 46 look like? Oh, that's right. This looks like another question. That's right. So it does have the... I must have chosen a specific type of problem for that one on there. So yeah, it's got the choices in there. Yeah, so those look good. Let's see. Anything else that looks weird? A lot of dog people in the class. That's good. That's good. I'm surprised it's that lopsided, but that's good. Yeah, so it looks like from what I'm seeing with just minor changes to the data, you should be able to go through for all of these. It looks like people are going to be able to go through and make these problems work. I don't see any kind of crazy stuff in here. And some of you may not even be able to figure out exactly which questions there were. I did some editing when I put the questions in the survey, mainly because, like 99% of the edit, I don't really remember because I've done this so many times with classes, but like 99% of the time that I'm editing a question. It has to do with like I'm making sure the answers you get are going to have a higher degree of clarity. Like maybe I read the way you wrote a question and thought, this is a good attempt, but this could be a little bit of a problem for the student, the answers they're going to get. So I reworded it in a way that I thought was going to give you better answers. Okay, so again, but it doesn't really matter because these questions there's no ownership. They're sort of owned by all of you. It's like a collective of questions. You can use any questions you want in the survey to do the work that you're working on. Just try to make it cohesive and coherent, and that it makes sense along the way. Okay, so let's see if I can try this again. Let me go back here. It didn't. So no one's able to get into the survey results. That's what I'm seeing. Okay, so let's do two things here. Let's go back to, okay. Trying to remember how I did this last semester. So let's open it up to responses. Let me copy the survey link. Someone else now it says 29 responses. How is there 29 responses if I had it closed to responses? That's weird. Anyways, we'll copy the survey link. I'll take it in here. We'll go up to take the survey. We'll edit this. I'll go into, let's delete this. We'll make this a link. And we'll link it right there. Hit done. Okay, so while I do that, so let me know if it's letting you back into the survey. It should, because all I did was turn back on the thing that I did. So then you can kind of read your questions, which will help. But at this point, don't take the survey, because what's going to happen is then every time people come back in, they're going to get different results. So if you haven't taken the survey yet, don't take it now, or the people's stuff will get kind of confused. And then the results didn't work, right? So what I'm seeing in chat is that the results aren't working. So let me go back. Let's see. We go to responses. Respondent details. So there's this. They add all these graphs in here, but what is going on? It's forming all these graphs, which I'd actually prefer it didn't do. But as you can see, most of them are useless. Like this one's okay, but look how it does. Like here, it's like, oh, a word wall of responses. Like you're probably not going to care about a word wall for the responses to your question. So actually, half the stuff it gives us here is not very useful. And the ones that are, you can just make that inside of StatCrunch. You just make yourself a little histogram or bar chart or something in a few seconds. So these aren't great, but hold on. Let me take this off screen. I don't want to accidentally expose anyone's information here. Now it's going to load that whole page again. Oh, maybe it lets you do it. So it's kind of hard to tell because I'm not looking at it. Help me remember here. So is the link to the survey now working? If you click this, does it let you back into the survey? Could someone confirm that for me? Yeah, it does. Okay, so when you as the student are looking in there, does it let you view the responses? Like, do you have this responses tab like I do right here? Because sometimes it allows me to have access to stuff that you as students don't see. Because if you have the responses tab, then you all should be able to get in there and do your work. And then I'll work on, I should be able to just, I know I've done it in the past where I linked the analyzed data. I know I've done that in the past, 100% I've done that, but sometimes the link fails. So we could even try it again. I don't. Okay, so I know I've done that where where I'll share this StatCrunch data. So I'll do that after class. I'll go in and double check that I can, because I know 100% I've given classes this before, but for some reason the link isn't working. Let's just try it one more time while we're here. Go to here, do edit. Let's remove the link. Let's make a new link. And we'll just put this in there. See what it looks like at the beginning. And again, when you're trying to link to this, double check that you're actually logged into StatCrunch. If you're not logged into StatCrunch, I think sometimes that's the problem. But if I hit done, save. So it works on my end. When I click it, it opens up the thing. If it's not working for you now that I just tried that, let me know, and I'll troubleshoot it after class here in a few minutes, okay? So, but I'll get that data up and available shortly here, and then you can start working on that project. You can start moving ahead with all the different stuff that you need to do for the next discussions that are going to earn points for you to do the stuff. Okay, I'll make sure all that's in there. All right, and then next time we'll talk a little bit more about scatter plots and correlation. We'll pick up there. Are there any other questions while we're in here? I got sort of two technical difficulties I got to tackle here. Oddly enough. Okay, everybody's good. Okay, then I'll close things down. Feel free to talk to me in Zoom. I'll close down the chat. Come talk to me in Zoom. I can't say much in 5 minutes about correlation, about a whole new topic. So we'll pick up there. And then let me know if there's confusion or technical difficulties or anything not working. Just send me an email, and I'll continue to try to get it all set up. Okay. All right. Okay. Thanks, everybody. We'll talk to you later.